Hey everyone, welcome to session 4 of Empowered Success. I'm so excited for this segment. I'm excited for all of them. Have you noticed? This, however, has been something that's been in creation for a long time. And what I love about this, and maybe you guys can relate, how many of you, without even prepping, without even thinking, could teach like a 2-hour oil class right now? Okay, even if you were asleep. Oh, totally, right? Because we love this. However, have you discovered that as an introduction, those 2-hour oil classes don't work very well? Right? We can just go and go and go because we're excited. But for our newbie, for the guest that's in the room who's being introduced for the first time, it's overwhelmed. It's too much. And so simplifying this into a shorter, simpler process was actually challenging to do, but we have observed that it's incredibly effective. And so we are going to be talking about the Natural Solutions class. This is your basic introductory class that we're going to teach, okay, that we're going to master. And the person that's going to share this tool with you is the master. She is the master teacher, the master presenter. I'm continually amazed by the knowledge that this woman has in her brain. I wish I could just do the Vulcan mind meld and just like suck it all out, but it doesn't work that way, darn it. And I'm so impressed. She has put in more time on this project than any other person. And we are incredibly grateful for that. So please give a huge warm welcome to Double Diamond, Laura Jacobs.
Thank you. Oh, what a nice warm welcome. Thank you, Justin. I'm so excited to be here with you. Isn't this so much fun to have a system? I've trained on this a lot already with my team in practice. They're my guinea pigs. I'm so grateful for their willingness and just love the lights on and the cloud lifting and the ability to just see your way clearly. You know, is it Stephen Covey that says there's simplicity when you don't know what you don't know, and then when you start knowing what you know, you go into complexity. And then there's a whole new level of simplicity that exists on the other side. And I feel like that's where we are, right? That we have taken the time to dial in and distill down to what makes this work and to make it really, really simple so we can have a really ideal kind of plug and play situation with our audience. So I'm excited to jump in here. Now, Natalie presented to you at the beginning the cycle that happens, right? And people jumping into the cycle at some place. So let's just check back with our new builder, and let's see where they're at, right? So they've likely seen and should have seen a presentation themselves already, at least once, right? Then they got introduced to their new lifestyle. They got onboarded that way. Then they were shown how to become an awesome hostess and how to bring in their friends, and they've been thinking about that. So their level of mastery here is sharing and inviting. That's where we want them focused when they're first starting their business. For those first few enrollments, we want them really being an expert in sharing and inviting. And of course, the Healthy Can Be Simple booklet is so perfect for them to really have that be a simple, fun process. So now it's time for them to host. Now it's time for them to bring those guests, those prospects that they've identified in their list, whether they wrote it in their build guide and again in their share guide, they've identified people. And we really encourage people to find the low-hanging fruit in their life first. And I mean that with the utmost kindness. Like, think about the people who just want this already. We want them to have early success. We want them to feel their capacity to influence early. So when they're writing that list, help them think about people. I remember when I started in doTERRA, and I had a few people I knew who were interested in natural solutions. I owned a wellness center at the time, and I was actually on my way home from another network marketing company's convention, and I pulled out my phone and my laptop. This was 9.5 years ago, and I started to write names. But I only ended up with 37. Out of literally hundreds or probably thousands of names that I had, I distilled down to just 37. And that was where I began my sharing from, were people, and I didn't know all those terms, and nobody told me to write a list. This is just something I did because, I thought that might be a good idea. But I just thought about who would be someone who would be readily, would have readied themselves for this message and would want that. And so we want to move into this portion with them and help them set up for success. So they do have successful first presentations that end in enrollments. That's our goal, right? Is for them to catch the spirit. How many of you remember the high of your first enrollments, right? And why is it a high? It's a high because you're changing someone else's life. That's what we do here. As I was pondering the message that I would share with you today, we just had a big family weekend, and my in-laws were in town, and my mother-in-law is a doTERRA Silver. And we were just talking about, she lives in one of the poorest counties in the state of Oregon, let alone in the entire nation. And I said, what you're dealing or what you're selling, we never use the word selling here, but we are selling something. We are selling hope. And so when we go and invite people to our presentation, the one thing I really hope that we'll plant in our hearts is that we are selling hope, that people have things. The wellness center practice that I ran, what I would get were all the people who couldn't find the solution they were looking for. And so what I've been smitten with for 20 years of being in the wellness industry is this idea of bringing hope to people and bringing answers and to empower them that they can excavate those ideas for themselves and they can become masters of that process in their own lives. And so this is the beginning of that process for this guest. They're coming and they're going to have this experience where this concept is presented to them. So I want to remind you, as again Natalie shared with you at the beginning, that this is a new builder, right? They've been going through these introductory processes. This is kind of their first experience of hosting a presentation, and to help them see that the guides are there for them. They're your employees, they're your staff. They help you do your work of bringing hope and your work of changing lives. So we're going to put together put to work our next employee, and the job title of the Natural Solutions class is in fact to enroll our prospects. We want to end in enrollments. If we don't enroll someone, we can't change their life. So to have our hostess prepared, and it's up to you to decide, who's buying the kit. I think it's important to help people get some skin in the game early and to share with them that we have this beautiful kit that doTERRA has provided. And I just wanted you to see the list of contents that's available for you. So it's just instant class in a box, instant success. So there's postcard invites, 10 handouts. So what are we expecting as far as a show up ratio, right? Well, it's a 50% expectancy rate. Now, some people do better than that, but there's extras just in case. One each of live, share, and build, so they can be held up, because we're going to see at some point in the class, we're going to invite them to go on to their next experiences, so we're going to need those visual aids. 10 living magazines. You know what that means to me? That means 10 invitees. That means 10 enrollments, right? How many of you would like a 100% enrollment rate? And we can get that. All we have to do is follow up, right? Those few squiggly people that leave there have to go home and think about it. No problem. We'll catch up with you later. And then again, 100% closing rate. We've got 10 5 milliliter wild orange, so we can reward them. And those can be positioned right at the class. For those of you who enroll tonight, you get this, or when you enroll, or however you want to position that. And then we have one welcome to doTERRA to hold up and one product guide. So again, those can be shown to them and they can understand what's available. So this is a little slice out of the launch guide, what's coming in our, what number are we on right now? 4? We're on number 4. Then we got Live Guides 5. And then Justin's going to take us home with launch. And what you're going to see when we get into launch is we have this amazing ability to share with our new builder, what's the pace of your class? What's the time? How should you weight your class? Because it is tempting to talk about oils and something you're passionate about for a couple hours. But as I would share with you, right alongside of Justin, it's probably not in the best interest of the person attending. They're only going to walk out of there remembering 2 to 3 things. So if you just shower them with more information, then it can actually turn into overwhelm. And you know what we say, the confused mind says no. So have the discipline to keep this short and sweet. You're dangling the carrot of a new life full of solutions, right? That's what we're getting them to lean into. And when we go through the Live Guide, I want to remind you and bring back to you when we get to the pyramid, how that ties into what we're accomplishing here in the class, because we're meeting people where they are. So I love going to Japan. I love sharing with supporting the people there in Japan who are doTERRA builders, and they like to have 1.5 to 2 hour classes. They're very meticulous people, right? They're very detail oriented, and they like that detail. And so we've been telling them, this is not a training, this is an introduction. So I want you to keep it in that context. This is an introduction to the possibilities. That's what we're doing here. The booklet that Eric showed, it's exposing them to the possibilities. The class is now introducing them to the possibility of what that can look like in their life to get them to make the decision to jump in and go, and then we follow up with them from there. So a little bit on your time agenda. And we're suggesting an ideal class is about 45 minutes, right? Okay, very important that, again, you have an understanding of kind of the spirit behind the class and what we're teaching. These are pages out of Live and Launch, where we're speaking to a particular thought process. When I go through this with you here next, we're going to talk about this concept of a book in a box, that all you need is a book in a box. That's all you need. Our healthcare in doTERRA is a book in a box. So the beautiful thing is our new kits are not only a crazy cool box, right? They're super pretty and wonderful and nobody wants to throw them in the trash anymore. But guess what? They come with a book. And it's an amazing book. Have you all seen this? I actually brought one. I stole this. I admittedly stole this. From what I understand, we can now buy them, but I was upstairs in the executive offices here at corporate, and I saw it on the table, and I said to Jen, oh, those are like, you can't find those anywhere. Can I have that? And she's like, sure. So I took it right off the coffee table. But I wanted to have a visual aid for you, but they're gorgeous. I mean, look at this full colored amazingness that they're getting. We're going to talk about this just a little bit more in the next segment. So I really want you to catch the spirit of this idea because you're going to find it mentioned in Launch. When Justin gets there, he's going to talk about that because we're inviting our new builders to become a solutions provider. And we've got to get the monkey off the back that you've now become the 24/7 hotline for everyone to call anytime their life goes down. That is not the point, right? The point is with a book in a box, you are on it, right? And so we're planting that seed with our people, our new people that we're exposing and introducing to right from the get-go. So with that in mind, you'll see that laced into the class when we're going to bring it up in parts of the class and how to bring that spirit in. Because our goal, again, is for the person to become empowered. And they're going to walk and leave this class feeling like, I can do that. Remember Natalie showing that? We want that with our system, and we want that with our lifestyle. We want people to feel like, I can do that. I can solve problems with a book in a box. So, of course, we start out with a welcome as we introduce the class, and we begin with certain aspects here. And typically in a welcome, we oftentimes teach the process. This will be in our training guides that are coming up for rank that are being released at leadership. What we typically invite to do here is how many of you learned English starting at age, like I have a granddaughter who's 2, she's getting pretty good at it. Is she going to school to learn English? No, she's not. She's just learning it at home. So we can put people in school to learn how to teach a class, but the best way to launch a new builder as they're hosting this class is to be right there with you. So we teach a 3-step process. So again, this is our new builder. They're hosting their class. They're having an opportunity. So what do I want my new hostess doing? I want her welcoming her guests, maybe telling them why they're there, and then she can tell a little slice of her story, which I'm going to give you an example of that, then turns it over to the presenter, edifies them because they've got to be credible with her audience. They probably don't know her, and they've got to believe and trust the presenter, and then the presenter is going to skillfully hand it back because who are these people left with? They're left with the hostess, most likely to do the follow-up. Or not, it just depends on how that's getting toggled back and forth. So we want to set this up from the beginning about this relationship. So when that introduction is happening, this is where our hostess, whoever's hosting the class, and it can be you, you've done it 100 times, it can be that brand new person, but the spirit is, I'm excited to share with you how with a book in a box, I have become the solutions provider in my home. And you can do it in yours as well. So if we can keep the spirit of what we're doing that simple, then do you think people can see themselves in that? So what did Natalie share with us? This is what we learned from Justin from the beginning. Our lather, rinse, repeat. We use oils, we share oils, and we teach people to do that. Do you see how that fits with that? This is how I use oils in my home. This is how you can use oils in your home. And then that person sitting there watching this presentation is going to say to themselves, I can do that. I can share oils that way. That's simple. I'm excited and interested about this opportunity. Okay, so this is now like, we're kind of in the presentation. This is like a step out. We're now having a training conversation. So now what are we doing at this point? We're inviting our hostess or presenter to draw from their own experiences and to be sure that they're doing what others can duplicate. Now, I could get into trouble. I could get up at the beginning of class and go off half-cocked about my 20 years of owning a wellness center and blah, 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 and yada, yada, yada. But is that duplicable? Right? Is that new builder in my audience going to watch me do that and have that light bulb go on and say, I can do that? And so we want to make sure we keep it at that tone again. This is an introduction. This is not a training. This is not an opportunity to make it about you. This is an opportunity to make it about them. And so then we're here to, the end goal, right, is to share the value of having that wholesale account. So right from the beginning, we encourage you, and the whole guide is set up this way, to set the tone for the audience member to know what to expect. Have you ever heard of the study where they took kids on a field trip and they did an experiment and they took 3 different groups of kids and they told them 3 different things about what they were going to experience? One group was told a lot of detail about what they would see in the museum, and I can't remember what the second group was taught. The third group was just told what time it starts, what time it ends, where the bathrooms were, and when they could expect lunch. And then afterwards, they checked the retention of the people who had the museum experience. Guess who had the best retention? The people who knew the parameters. So when we set parameters from the beginning, people don't wonder, now where are we going? It's a distraction for the brain. So when the brain is satisfied and it knows where you're going, then people relax and they move into this learning mode where they're in a much better place to be taught and to receive. So by stating our intentions from the beginning, we settle our audience right down and they know where we're going. And then you now have permission to close them because you asked for it from the beginning. It's not awkward anymore to transition into a kit sell when you've already told them, I'm going to help you figure out how to get these in your home. You've disclosed from the beginning what your intention is. That changes everything when you get to your close. Okay, so the first step then is, well, what the freak is an essential oil, right? So some people are thinking when they come, right? Or what's an essential oil? Whatever the case is, we're here to bring life to that. So right from the beginning, and if you've been around for a while in doTERRA, we've gone through different versions, shall we say, of class. And we hope here we've gathered for you in the pages of the Natural Solutions Guide some of our most endearing parts that we've always treasured in our storytelling, one of which is simply to give people the ability to understand the contrast. That here in America, for example, we've got like amazing trauma care. In fact, we're like #1 in the world. And if something gets dismembered from your body, this is a great place to get it put back on. We are masters at that. When it comes to our report card on just how we're doing with sickness care, well, our scorecard isn't that great. In fact, I think last time I looked at one of those studies a few years ago, we were 52nd in the world. So although we spend the most here in the US, our report card doesn't say that our client is necessarily having the same return on investment. So all we're saying here is that might leave us it might leave us wanting. There might be more. And again, what did I experience at my wellness center? I experienced the wanting. And so when I talk about hope, that we're here to sell hope, we're here to sell them what they're filling in the gap, what's missing for them. And so then we just compare, and we've got this beautiful illustration to help them see that the focus here is on mitigating symptoms. And we're not here to judge that or say if it's right or wrong. It's just the focus. It's fine. And the focus over here in this arena with a more natural approach is to focus on the root cause. In other words, what's sort of the underlying thing that we can address in the body that would help alleviate maybe some of its whining and complaining, correct? So that's our first opportunity there. Now, really important to understand that the guide is set up for the teacher as well to help prompt them to understand what they need to be doing. So when you see a picture of an oil, what's the prompt? Take the lid off, right? Pass it around. Let people have an experience. I loved the sharing conversation, people talking about using wild orange as a great experience. What a perfect oil to make that very, very first product experience at this particular moment. Now, let me just pause and say, we're talking like a class setting. However, this is absolutely as applicable in a one-on-one setting. In fact, I think if we statistically were to go around and check it out, we would find out more people were enrolled in a one-on-one setting than they were in a class setting. However, class settings are really, really powerful. If I'm talking to a new person, I might say, I'm sure you sat here and you thought of a few people while we've been hanging out, and maybe you've written a mental list. We can do this one of 2 ways. I'd love to help you share with them and bring hope to them, just like we've done for you. So we can use your time, my time really effectively. We can gather them all together at once, or we can meet with them separately. What would be best for you? And so be sure to understand the value of doing this in a one-on-one setting and still take the lids off, still make sure they're having those oil experiences. So here, just inviting them to see that it's a really cool experience to smell an oil. And now with the bullet points, I'm not going to sit here and read those to you, right? You guys get the points. These are what we feel are the main points that need to be brought up in an introductory experience. They're written in a compliant way, so you feel really safe in your languaging, and we've positioned them properly so everyone feels comfortable with that, with some lovely illustrations to help us make those points. So at the top of the page again, what is an essential oil? Well, not only are we telling them what it is, but we're helping them have a deeper understanding of oils. Okay, so what are they? They're effective, they're natural, they're safe. And did you know that there's a quality variation? And because there's a quality variation, then it's my responsibility to educate you about that so we can continue to have this conversation. So I call this a funnel page. We're starting broad, and we're narrowing in, and we are literally earning the right to talk about doTERRA. Do not call this a doTERRA class. Come to this class. Everyone gets invited to that stuff. Come buy this pan. Come buy this makeup. Come buy these oils. What are we doing here? We're having a class on natural solutions, and we're earning the right to make it doTERRA specific. And this part of your page is where you're earning that right, because you're setting doTERRA apart in regards to quality. And this is the perfect segue into your next section, which is how to use them. By the time you get to the third method of use, which is internal, it's important to note that, do you see the CPTG dot over there? We can only, again, as a 20-plus year, how many years now? When did I start? 1995, I think, was when I hung my shingle as a practitioner. So however many years that is, somebody do the math for me. 23. 23 years I've been doing this, and I can say this with every cell of my body. I would not be having this conversation with you unless it were these oils. I would be amiss to have this conversation with you. And I think I'm amiss if I had it over here too, because if you're putting a bottle of synthetic essential oils on your body, let alone in it, because your skin is a permeable barrier, it's in your system. And synthetic essential oils are chemicals. They're no different than anything else out there. They're like a drug or any other toxic chemical that you would put into your system, and I couldn't recommend that. So I love that opportunity to introduce doTERRA's quality and then have it back me up in my storytelling on application so that we can have a really good, honest conversation there. And again, you guys know your stuff. We're going to teach about how to use our oils, and you have reminders. Pass around the peppermint, pass around the deep blue, pass around the On Guard. Now, I brought an oil up here with me for two reasons. One, I need it, and two, because it's great to model it for you. So we've already passed around the wild orange, and it's very important to demo, right? So I'll typically put it in my hand, rub it together, show me inhaling, not touching my face. I might even go, and guess what? You can use it internally, and I might lick it and share that right in front of them. The reason why we have peppermint following wild orange is because peppermint is a dominant aroma. And if peppermint went around first, they actually won't be able to have the full experience with the wild orange. So wild orange goes around first, peppermint second. They're rubbing it on their hands. Now they're smelling them together. So right out of the gates, they learn that oils aren't scary. And two, they blend well together, and they create different experiences when we blend them together. So anytime you can give them a chance, I love this new idea that's been floating around out there. We have a diamond in doTERRA who's planted this idea of having people come. Her sampling program isn't to get something before, it's to get it when you come. And so she has a roller ball display set up. So I just did this for my mother-in-law in Arizona. And I have another mother-in-law, a couple of those. And so we set up her whole bar in her kitchen with these little tent cards, and we did perfume roll-ons. So I had all the labels, and I had all the oils there to make it, empty 10 milliliter roll-ons, fractionated coconut oil. And it wasn't too many drops. It wasn't, over the top expensive. Maybe it was 10 drops of oils combined to make their roll-on. But what's the purpose of that? By the time they sat in their seats in my classroom, in her living room, they've already touched, smelled, and played with oils. We've already had some of those discussions of, I can't do scents. So that allowed us to have a casual conversation and maybe already start meeting a few of the objections that naturally come up for people. And it was an icebreaker. I watched them come in a little bit cautious and all that, and to where everybody kind of settled down. It was really a fun way to start the class. So your your application methods are such a critical part of this process. So by passing oils around and letting them have that experience, they're finding out, I can do this. Yeah, with a book and a box, I can do this. This is easy. I can make stuff. Now, it's important to note as we turn into the next page that 3 of your top 10 oils, I'm not counting wild orange kit-wise, right? But of course, it's in our top 10, are on your first page. So remember that they're already here. So we had to include their resume here. So we didn't want to have just a flyby experience. It's important that there's a little bit of an opportunity to share 3 of our top oils right here and start to introduce the idea that they also can work for you. You can hire this oil to work for you in your life, and one can cool you down, and one can make you more limber, and another one can like help you be on your game all the time, right? So just note that there's an important opportunity. And so it's tying in together. It's just not a theory of aromatic usage, it's a real life experience because you're passing around, you should have a diffuser running, right? Having a diffuser running during a class or a one-on-one is critical because we had that example earlier of someone saying, how did they sample? Well, they gave diffusers. I know that's won the hearts of many people to have just an aromatic experience. Some people are like, I don't get the whole like oils solve problems thing, but I like that they smell pretty, or I like that they make me feel better, kind of a thing. So great opportunity to share that. Now as we open up into our centerfold here, we have an opportunity to just expose, right? There's going to be a moment, right? And the whole idea is for them to feel like they opened a cabinet. Now the first idea they might be thinking about their own cabinet that they have at home, and if it looks that good, right? They might have cabinet jealousy, which we want them to have. We want them to go, I want a cabinet that looks that cool, right? So just let them kind of take it in, and then have them flip back a couple pages and say, hey, while we're here and we're doing what we're going to do here, you're probably going to hear some things you're going to want to have. So just flip some pages and go find this page and show it to them and say, this is your wish list. And this is a place you can check off those things that you want to have, okay? So then they're feeling organized and orderly about what they're doing. So we're back here then again to the cabinet. And so the first experience we want them to have at the top of the page is an opportunity for it to get personal. I have learned so much from so many different top leaders in the company. I could just start, Teresa Harding that, Melina Harrison this, just so many good ideas. And it's really great. Melina always says, I want this to be about you. I want this to be relevant to you. And this is our time right now to make this about you. And so we're going to pause. And so just jot down for a second, what is it that you want to have less of in your life? You want to have less irritability? You want to have less fat? What do you want to have less of? Write it down, right? What do you want to have more of? I want to have more rest. I want to have more energy. I want to have more whatever, flexibility. And you know what I love about this too, about this approach, is most people are not going to write down, I want to have less cancer, right? It keeps us out of the disease conversation. And I love that. It keeps it to real life, everyday, practical, because most people want more rest, they want more energy, they want more spring in their step, and it keeps us focused in the arena that we want to play in with our class. So after a little pause, giving them a chance. So, think ahead, you have pencils or writing instruments so people can jot that down. Now we're going to jump in, and we have a fun thing that we've provided for you with the handout that gets some class involvement going here, and this is why, again, they need a writing instrument. This medicine cabinet, or what we call a bathroom cabinet, right, is organized very specifically. It is not random. The first shelf, you can have them jot down, be prepared for anything. So I have my audience just write that down. Be prepared for anything. Right in their cabinet. We left the background white so people could circle things and write on it and be really interactive here. It's far more memorable if they have to write it down. However, I want your help. Unless somebody watches a training video, how are they ever, or if you don't train them, how do they know this little magic step in the class, right? So we got to make sure we get the word out and people know how to go the extra mile to make it work for them. So number 1, be prepared for anything. Number 2, and I just have them go through this quickly, and then we jump in, and then they can start to see how it plays out. Number 2, be refreshed with self-care. That's shelf number 2. And lastly, shelf number 3 is be healthy with daily habits. Now, if you're paying attention to the handout, over here, we're teaching about healthy habits, and that might seem kind of like a random thing over there, and it needs to be justified. So this is everything is for them to I guess I shouldn't be walking by this thing. Moves. Don't touch it. But that helps understand this whole bottom section is in reference to daily habits, okay? All right, so now we've got it all filled in, right? And now it's time to start asking audience members to share. So who'd like to go first and share something you wrote down about what you'd like to have less of or what you'd like to have more of in your life? So the first person says, oh, I will. Okay, I've got some occasional tummy upset that I'd love to just get rid of in my life. Awesome. Okay, so everyone look with me, if you will, at item number 2. It's called Digest Zen, and it is our Digestive Blend. And you're going to find it up on your top shelf under Be Prepared for Anything because, hey, when stomach stuff comes up, you want to be prepared. That might be that little something that you keep in your purse. And then we're going to have a little chat about that. We might have a story in the room that could be shared. I've already prepped my hostess, who's brand new, that her part was to kick it off, welcome her guests, tell them why she brought them there, introduce me, and then I invited her to tell a couple stories, right? So she's going to find herself in here. It's going to be natural, and this is what people want to hear, is like, this worked for someone else. We need that third-party witness. And then you can have, and I could say something like, hey, if that's something that you relate to, is that whole want to support the tummy thing, circle it. Just jot it down. That's another way for you to keep track of the things you're interested in. And maybe it's not you. Maybe it's somebody in your family who has that same kind of a situation. And so take note of that, because maybe you're thinking about people beyond yourself and their needs. Okay, who wants to share the next thing? All right, I want to feel more rested. Awesome. Will you look with me at item number, 6? I can't read it. And it's serenity, right? Now, here's the other thing is with audience involvement is they can read bullet points. You don't have to be the smarty pants who can just say everything off the cuff. Hey, do you mind, Tammy, would you mind reading that to everyone, just the bullet points on that particular oil as we talk about it? And then we're just rolling through them item by item and having it really interactive. Most of your time in your class, if you remember on the agenda, is weighted here. This is about 20 to 25 minutes out of our 45, 50-minute time block, is to give people an opportunity to really get playful here and to understand the possibilities. So we just keep going, right? So next it's about tension of some kind. We point them in the direction of something like a past tense, and they see, again, that's showing up on the top shelf. And so they just see us start to toggle back and forth between these different areas of life where we want support. Yeah, I want to be prepared when life happens at my house. Yes, I want to do great self-care. And yeah, daily habits and living a life of healthiness sounds really, really awesome. So make sure at some point in the conversation, there's got to be a connection. There's got to be a reason to talk about lifelong vitality. So I kept in the example something really simple, like energy. Like seriously, what is your number one source of energy in your doTERRA daily life routine? Would you not agree that lifelong vitality is critical? I have a 22-year-old daughter who's been doing the whole detox program with a team on Facebook, and she's been really committed to taking her lifelong vitality twice every day. And it's been fun to hear her talk about the differences that she's noticing. One of which she said, I wake up better. I have a spring in my step. I'm more alert. I'm good to go right from the minute I'm waking up. And so super important to tie that in. It gives us an opportunity to talk about our number one best-selling product, our guarantee, and then it allows you now to discuss the daily routine. This is just a little snapshot for you to see what does it look like. So if somebody were to do this on a daily basis, what's a snapshot in the day of a life of a user of doTERRA products, right? Because you look at all this and you're like, wow, how does anybody organize all this? It's like super easy. It looks like this. So again, we're trying to give them an opportunity to see themselves in this lifestyle that we love and this lifestyle that we're sharing with them. So now it's time to move into, we promised 3 parts to our class. What was part 1? What's an essential oil? Why should I care, right? Number 2, how the heck do I use them? And number 3, remember we set ourselves up for the transition. Okay, now it's time to talk about the third thing, and that is how to get these in your home. Now this is a part where the presenter can tie this in. What I'm here to do is I connect people to my solutions. And I'm inviting you to become that solutions provider in your home, and all you need is a book and a box. Now there's some tie-ins here. So if you go back and you look at the bottom of this page, for example, this is a foreshadowing. Any of you ever pay attention to foreshadowing in books or movies, right? We were just watching that song that was playing on break from Greatest Showman, the little boy, and him singing at the beginning, right? He's totally foreshadowing what's coming in the movie. This is our foreshadowing. This is what's coming in your lifestyle overview. And the same is true here. We're giving you a foreshadowing of the lifestyle we're inviting you to live. And so we can maybe drop a line about that with a book and a box, you can address a minimum of 80% of health priorities in your home. So do you think that people want that? Right? So that's our segue into, well, let's talk about how to get them in your home. So now turn to your next spread, open it up, and one of the most common ways that we've always taught how to do the close in doTERRA is by creating a sense of comparison. People learn by association. They like to associate things with what they know. So we hone in here at that top section on this concept of getting a membership in doTERRA is not too dissimilar from getting a membership in a place like a Costco or a warehouse club. where you pay a membership fee, which allows you then to be part of the membership and get a discount. And so showing them that they have options. Now, we typically start out with, you're welcome to buy retail. Most people don't choose to do it that way. Most people like getting a discount, right? So again, by setting it up by comparison, you don't know what value is unless you compare it to something else. So we're moving into that intro, talking to them about, disclosing early what our membership is like. We do have a yearly renewal, get a free peppermint kind of a thing there. Now, what's nice is to use, I'm giving you arrows here so you can see how to associate different things in the guide to the points you've already made. So now we've associated wholesale. So let's go over and show them that you can do retail, you can do wholesale, and then there's also a way to get that wholesale membership for free. So we're really proposing three things. The first was you're welcome to buy retail. Most people don't. Number two, most people get a wholesale membership because, gosh, then they get their product at a discount, and that's only $35. Or third option is how would you like to get that membership for free, which looks like get started with a kit, which includes even deeper discounts. And so then tying that to. Now, some people go through all the kits. Some people go through one kit. It's totally your style. The beautiful thing is this is the recipe. You can frost it your way. You can do what works for you and then help your people figure that out. How are they the most successful at their closing? So we're tying in and showing them the discounts. Now, the reason for featuring that kit called the Natural Solutions Kit and that page from the Natural Solutions class is everything in that cabinet is in the kit. So now you can say to them, everything we just talked about, everything that was on that previous page, you can turn back. Everything that's here is in this kit. That was done on purpose, right? So that's our anchor kit. That is our lifestyle kit. We are encouraging people to go home and be lifestyle ready. You got a cute little box, put your stuff in it, you put your stickers on it, you set your diffuser up, you got your vitamins, got all your oils, you're good to go. So we're helping them be set up for success. And so, our goal is to point them to that kit because what we know is when we talk to people post-enrollment, what's their number one regret? I should have bought a bigger kit, right? And why not? And then you get to talk about, and it comes with a free $100 too, by the way. Now, the $100 conversation doesn't have as much excitement unless they understand our LRP program. So it's the next place we go in our handout. So we go from here to giving an example to going down here and showing our LRP program. So again, we have something to tie it back to. So now that they have an understanding, and I still use my Costco thing, like I get a rebate from Costco, and doTERRA gives rebates too. It's called our Loyalty Rewards Program. And by the way, ours starts at 10%. And it works all the way up till 30, and I can get a bottle of, Serenity for free for every 100 points I buy. And then now taking that percentage and showing how you can fast track and how that applies to some of the larger kits, and then also that they can get 100 of those points in the bank right out of the gates after they place their first loyalty order. And I've typically dropped a little story about helichrysum back at the beginning because I always say, I call it an investment oil. It's nearly $1 a drop, but as a mom, I'd never be without it because it saved me tons of money and tons of time. So now I can say, remember that helichrysum oil we talked about? That's how you get it for free. So just help them see how it ties together. Okay, at this point in your class, if you so choose, and you can switch things around if you like, but this is typically where we would share our special offers. So for an example, these were offers we had back this fall, and so then you need to talk about it. Now we need to be careful because we're not trying to wheel and deal here. And if you buy this, you get this for free, and if you bring your firstborn child, we'll give you a free this, and right, pretty soon we can really, really devalue what we have here. Because in my opinion, a kit is the prize. A kit with a free diffuser is like heaven. So to get anything else on top of that for free, which so often, doTERRA at least once a quarter is giving us something amazing that we can add to. So we need to teach our people when we position offers, we're not doing it in such a way that the person's like totally lost. And remember, we'll go back to our first statement, which is the confused mind says no. So I want to make sure we keep it super clear and organized so they know what they're doing. Now, I told you before that we have those 3 guides, right, with us. Let's see if Laura can put up 3 fingers. Live, share, and build. To hold up, this is the time to show the guides so they can see themselves in their doTERRA future. That what we're doing here, the nature of who we are, that's just me putting a little tagline in here for you. The nature of who we are is we change lives. And we're inviting you first and foremost to change your own. And we have a follow-up program with you. You talk about the lifestyle overview. We also invite you, surely as you've been sitting here, if you're like me, when I had my first class, I could not help but think about the number of people in my life who'd be blessed with this. So we invite you to share and gather people that you love and create an opportunity to change their lives as well. And then third, if you're like me and you want to also change your future, we have an opportunity here in doTERRA. So I've got all these guides with me, get one afterwards, however you want to position that. I'm not going to tell you how to frost your cake, but make sure you're holding up the guides, you're pointing it out. That's why they're in the class in a box. So you want people to see themselves beyond the moment. What does this look like moving forward? And then this beautiful kind of back cover, and then behind that is all the applications. And this is a quote from Emily Wright: "Nature was man's first remedy. Everything we need can be found there." Isn't that a beautiful close to our Natural Solutions invitation? I just love that. And then, of course, we go to the last, which is to help them sort their experience. And, of course, I think at this point in doTERRA, probably 80% of enrollments, I don't have a real stat, I'll just make it up. What do you think, Justin? 80% are wholesale customers? Do you guys think that sounds about right? Okay, so very important that we help them understand why we have 2 forms. So pointing that out, and then just last slide for you here is just showing that we're citing the same first 4 bullet points, that both memberships come with the same value, with the exception of the ability to enroll others and earn an income is exclusive to the wellness advocate position. And so just helping them make that decision. And then I love to just go so figure out which one's right for you. Me and Susie are going to be around afterwards. Make sure you taste some of those On Guard apples in the kitchen. We're here to speak with each of you and help you decide which kid is best for you and your family, which type of membership is best for you. And all you're going to need to do is fill out the shaded portions on your form at a minimum, and we're going to make sure we take care of that together. It's kind of a good class close because it's not like an ending so much as it's a beginning to the next phase. And this is why the class needs to be kept short, is because you need them in the kitchen eating and tasting the guacamole with the lime. They need to be drinking the Slim and Sassy or lemon water. They need to be tasting those apples soaked in On Guard, or those brownies you made with peppermint oil, or whatever it is. So again, they see themselves in it. Oh my gosh, I can make a roll-on. It's in my food. This stuff is amazing, right? And then we have the opportunity to mingle. And again, there's different styles. Some people, are in the living room and they go around. Some people pull people aside and do like little one-on-one to help people. You can frost your closing your way, but your number one way to get the most enrollments at the end of a class is that after class part, right? It's a super big portion. So we're setting that up for success here. And Justin, back to you. That is the end of our Natural Solutions class presentation.